Look at me hair. Goodness. You know, last night, I forgot to put my toupee in my special steamer, and look at that. I'm a quail. What am I gonna do? That's just absolutely reprehensible. Am I gonna have to go with the spit, like my mom used to smooth my hair down? Look at that, it's getting worse. Should I just take a knife out and just cut it off? My vanity. Goodness, I can't have it. Sweat it down. Good grief. So, we have a big day tomorrow, gentlemen. A good portion of the middlemen, my moderators in this chat, the guys that make this possible, are coming out for a visit for a long weekend. I'll be meeting them for the first time. We've got activities planned. What that means for you guys and what that means for the stream, I'm not quite sure. We'll have to see how they feel. Maybe we'll be moderating in real time. Before we get started, I had an important message that came in about an hour ago from one of our subscribers, one of our beloved here, NSBR3PS, is having a hard time right now. He sent me a super sticker and asked if I could give him some advice in a situation he's going through right now. I got water running in my face, and I thought we would open up with that because this seems to be, with the state of dating, with the state of Western women, this is something I am hearing a lot. I'm going to read it to you. It's quite short, and then we'll talk about this a little bit and see if we can't offer some perspective. He writes, "Hey Cody, if you have a minute, I need some advice. I was going to super chat that I found a unicorn, but she just broke up with me this morning via text, saying no longer feeling a spark after 7 months of dating. It's a long time. Like a whimpering dog, I gave a case on why we should be together and ended up asking if we can be friends." Well, that was a mistake. She agreed. I'm sure she did. I'm 28 years old and I'm just so lost right now. Here's a simple but hard fact, beloved. Women will only date up. Men will date down. Women will rarely, now I'm going to speak in generalities here. Women will rarely date beneath them, financially, career-wise, intellectually, physical appearance. It's just not what they're going to do. Men, we've seen it many times. Guys that are millionaires, corporate raiders, you know, big important celebrities will be happily settle down with a pretty girl that works at Starbucks. That's just a simple fact of life. A woman, this is viewer discretion advised. So we're gonna use some earthy language right here, but we got to get down to some hard facts. So if you have little ones, hit mute for a few minutes. Women will not spread their legs for anyone they feel is beneath them. That's just a fact. A woman wants to be with someone that is wealthier than her, stronger than her, more attractive than her, more intelligent, a better leader, has his life more together. That's what they want. And the moment they get a hint that that's not the case, they will immediately dry up and start looking for something better. It's called hypergamy or monkey branching. It is trying to select their best mate. Now, I'm not blaming them for it. It's just what they do. It's their nature. They're all daughters of Eve, right? We have the written record. So when you find yourself in a situation like that, like what we're talking about right here, the absolute worst thing you can do, and what you did was wrong. I know we weren't taught this, but by pleading. That's the worst possible thing you could do. She already has lost respect for you for some reason. She already has, something has happened. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's another guy, but she does not deem you her superior anymore. Or she found someone that she deems to be more than you are. She's monkey branching. She's going from branch to branch. She's going to the next one. That you thought you found a unicorn, but you did not. It's tough, man. It's tough, but you know, when you find yourself in a situation, if you have one Hail Mary left, that you could rekindle this and reestablish this relationship, you already lost that opportunity. It would have been to just, when she said that, you would have said, oh, fine. Had you said that and not reacted whatsoever, that would have rocked her world. She would have thought, well, wait a minute. I thought he doted on me. I thought he loved me. I thought that he worshiped the ground that I walked on. And he responds with, fine. Well, now she's intrigued, right? But you lost that opportunity. I don't mean to make light of it. I know it sucks. We've all had, everyone here has had to go through this. We've all had our hearts broken. We've all been trusted women that have betrayed us and have acted accordingly. So I would warn you, I would caution you, you've already done so much damage, I don't know that you can recover. If you've begged and pleaded, and this friendship, beloved, you cannot be friends with a woman. If you're, maybe someone that you work with, let's say you cannot be friends with a woman that you have attraction for. If you've dated and you've slept with a woman and it all falls apart, the idea that you two could be friends is preposterous, and just get that out of your head. It's foolishness. And don't listen to anything they say. They're not going to tell you the truth. She's not going to be your friend. She doesn't want to be your friend. She may pretend that you're your friend to keep you on the back burner as a bailout position in case it doesn't work out with the new guy, that she can fall back on it, especially if she's up over 30 and wants, gets baby rabies. They'll keep a lot of simps in orbit just in case. Women always have a fallback position. That's what makes them different than us. Men don't so much. They've got social programs. They've got a whole ocean of beta blue simps that will gladly move in there and pick up their pieces and pay off their student loans and bail them out for a lifetime of bad decisions. That's really the problem, is that men are not standing up for themselves. They have no self-respect, and they're idolizing these women. These women are not the end-all, be-all. What a woman wants is she wants a man that has his act together, that has his grind, that has a mission in life, that has a purpose, that has a reason, and she wants to come along. The moment you make a woman your reason, then she loses it for you, and she'll move on to a man that actually has a purpose in life and is doing something. So as hard as that is to hear, it's just a simple fact. Beloved, we were lied to by the boomers that told us that we should be chivalrous, that we should be nice guys, that we should dote on them and throw our jackets on puddles and flowers and candies and roses and all this nonsense. That is a recipe for failure. It's a recipe for failure. Speaking as a former Chad, I can tell you, women do not like nice guys. They may end up with a nice guy when they're 30, 32, and they're desperate to have a baby and they're running out of time and their eggs are gone. A woman's eggs, 90% of her eggs are gone at 30. And that's when once they realize that, that's when they will compromise. They will lower their standards. They realize they're not going to get Chad, they're not going to lock him down, so they're going to get a beta simp. And that's where you are. That's where you move in. And you take over, and you simp, and you cuck, and you raise someone else's kids, and that's just a simple fact. Simping and simps are the big problem, because women have no accountability. They always know that there'll always be a simp in the wings that will bail them out of their trouble. So they continue with their bad behavior. To sum it all up for you, you messed up by crying about it at the end. The best thing you could do right now is to cut her off. And thank your lucky stars that you didn't put a ring on her finger and she decided she wasn't happy after you had 2 or 3 kids and drug you into family court and wrecked and destroyed your lives and destroyed the lives of her family. The Bible tells us a woman tears down her house with her very own hands. 70, 80, even 90%, depending on education and background, divorces right now currently in this country are filed by women. Social media makes them think that they've got options because all these Chads are out there. If you're a Chad right now on social media, on the dating sites, it is the gold rush. It's the gold rush. All these women get their heads gassed up. As I said before, if a pretty girl in Nebraska, small town years ago, how many guys did she have access to? Maybe the local town, maybe the football team, that came to visit, but a relatively small number of men that she had to choose from for a life partner, for a mate, for a husband. Not anymore. Now this same girl posts her pictures online on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, and she's being contacted by rappers and athletes and being offered to be flown out to Dubai and being offered flown out by celebrities. And see, she starts to think, well, that's what I deserve now, that type of guy. A guy that's wealthy, a guy that has celebrity, a guy that is a high value man, as they like to call it. But what she doesn't understand is that these men are never going to marry her. They simply just want to run through her. And once you've had Chad, how do you ever settle down with the normal dude that works at the hardware store in your local town? You don't. They're called alpha widows. Alpha widows. They're imprinted on by these guys, these high value guys, 6 foot something, muscles, square jawline, wealthy, fame, whatever. And now they think that that's the standard, and anything less than that is settling. That's just the simple truth, beloved. All right, you can turn the volume back up now. We have a super chat from NS who writes, I'm here in the chat. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Sorry, got it. Yep, NS. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. That's a bad deal. But really, the only option that you have, and I don't know what the circumstances are, but I would be somewhat reluctant to take her back if she did come back after 7 months and then texted you a breakup. That's a very poor character. Is that what you want raising your children? Is that the woman that you want instilling values in your children? Someone with such low character to do that? You dodged a bullet. I know it hurts. I know it sucks. It's going to be terrible for a while. But lesson learned. We've all been there, man. You're not alone. We've all been there. We all did it. We all were given the bad information from the boomers about how to treat women. I'm not saying you need to be mean to them. You just need to make them not the center of your life. They're along for the ride. God gave us woman to be a helpmate, not to be our end-all be-all in life. You can't see that when you're younger. And you certainly can't see it when your parents didn't teach you anything. I got the same bad information. Had terrible heartbreaks because I didn't know what I was doing. But once I figured it out, then things changed. We have a member message from Mr. Jason Johnson. Shout out to you, Jason. Jason writes, and Jason's been a member with us for 1 month now. Really enjoying the content, also trying to find my way as a person who has never been spiritual to understand the grander scale of things. Yeah, I'll tell you, a man that asks a question like that is very close to God. Much closer to God than many people that are church pew sitters. That's a genuine question. That's a genuine interest. You want to know the truth. You want to know if there's something about this. And you should. It's the most important decision they ever make. What I can tell you is to get down on your knees tonight and pray earnestly to the God of Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac and ask him to show himself to you. Ask him to show you the truth. You don't have to believe. You just have to go and find out for yourself and see what happens. But you have to do it earnestly and sincerely. And it wouldn't surprise me if you get an answer. I'm not promising you anything. But God has pays special attention in my experience to men that come to him with honesty. Even if you don't believe, even if you don't really know what it's about. But you can't trust what other people tell you. You got to find out yourself. And I would encourage you to do that. Mr. Grayson. Shout out to you, Grayson. Grayson has a question. My boss, man of God, said something today that I thought you would appreciate. He said, we make complicated that which we don't want to understand. Yeah, of course, that's a very good saying, isn't it? We make complicated the things that we don't want. Yeah, because we're lazy and we don't want to put in the effort. Like, that always comes to mind with poetry. I have never been a fan of poetry. I find it quite insufferable, and the people that go and bang on about it are even worse. I know that I have read some poetry that has been quite profound. But I never really got a lot of it because I was unwilling to put the work in, right? So I say automatically, oh, who can know this? It's overly complicated, it's flowery, it's pie in the sky, you know. Not necessarily because it was. It may have been one of the most profound things I've ever read, but I didn't give it my due diligence because I didn't want to put the work in, because we, by and large, are lazy. Right? We are lazy. And that is that's very well said. I like that. We make complicated that which we do not want to understand. Boy, you see that in the comments, do you not, beloved? Goodness. Some very good, I have a good feeling. I feel the Spirit of God upon us today. Good questions and good energy. Mr. Daniel Sumney, welcome back, brother. Daniel writes, and he's a new member, do the women of Proho carry? If so, what firearm? Mrs. W does. Not always, not as much as I would like. It's difficult for women to carry because of the clothing choices that they wear. See, there's a big difference. Men, when we choose clothing, we are purely, for the most of us, unless we are of the, well, let's not offend anyone. Proho wears clothing for utility purposes. Now, if you're West Coast, you like to have a little style and flair. Don't hate on us, this is what we do. But there is utility. Darker colors to hide the dirt, durable fabrics that will protect while we're working, as well as last a long time. Lots of big pockets for carrying our gear, etc., etc., etc. Pure utility for the most part, except for West Coast guys, which we like to have something a little extra special, you know. Women, on their other hand, bright colors, you know, it's just the opposite. It's just the opposite. It just dawned on me. If we take this, we have a profound thought right here. We just dawned on me, everything that the devil, we're told that the adversary is the prince of this world, that God has given him some sort of dominion or power to exercise on the flat earth. And he takes everything that God has done and created, and he twists it and he perverts it. He's not creative. He doesn't create anything. He perverts what God created. He's a counterfeit. You look at the animal kingdom. Look at the male. The male is always grander, bigger, stronger, faster, more beautiful, as a rule. The lion, look at the lion's mane. Look at the peacock. Look at the birds and the bird kingdom of how much more colorful and vibrant and you know, everything. The elk, everything that God created. The male is bigger, more beautiful, and dominant. It just dawned on me, but we have the perversion here, where the female now is more colorful. Everything that they wear is softer, lighter fabrics. Little pockets that are not for carrying things, but just for style or for fashion. The decorating of jewelry, the adorning themselves, all of the hair, which would be the equivalent of the lion's mane, while the man is shorn and shaves his face, etc., etc. Do you see that? Do you see the perversion? It's just dawned on me that this is the twisting of God's law, the twisting of reality. That's interesting. We have a super chat from, back to carry. So the point being, it's difficult for them to carry as they should, and if anyone needs to have a holster on, it should be a woman, because they're more likely to be around children. And to have an off-body carry in a bag, a fanny pack, something that you're going to be putting down, is dangerous. And I think a lot of women don't like to do that, and it's probably a good reason. So, this is a man's channel. We're not going to focus too much on what the ladies do. It's not very interesting, to be honest with you. If you were to take away sex, let's be honest, gentlemen, if you were to take away sex, really, what do they have to offer that you would enjoy? Would you want to hang out with them if that was not a thing? Would you share interests? Would you share, would it be good to have a conversation? The same as what you would with your buddies or with a man? No, we're different. I'm not putting them down, just saying that they're different. Outside of that, outside of sex and procreation, to be honest, you know, we don't have a lot in common. I have no interest in spending time with other women apart from my wife and my daughter, my immediate family. I love to be around them, of course. But another man's wife or another man's daughter or just some random woman, what do I want with that? Why would that interest me? I don't. It's not. They're not offering sex. I don't want their sex. This is not very interesting. We have a super chat from Juhani Tapio. Thank you, brother. Love your content. Love from Finland. Well, we love our Finnish friends over there very, very much. I hope to go to Finland someday. I love the Nordic countries. I've been enjoying your music. I've been building quite a playlist for the war band as we enter into the river's frigid embrace. It rises the blood. Mr. Joe, good to see Joe here. Joe says, I used a nylon rope to pull something and the rope fused itself at the knot. A bowline, really? How to prevent this? Are there better knots? Thanks. Well, man, I've not heard of that, but I've also never used a bowline to pull that hard. If I were going to pull that hard on something, I would use a figure eight. Again, if I'm doing retrieval, I try to use only retrieval straps, something you're not going to have a knot in. You know, a rope has limitations, but I have had some pretty major falls rock climbing on figure eights. That's how you tie into a static or dynamic rope, is a figure eight knot. I'll show you how to do that in a video if you like. It's quite simple. That's probably the number 2, my favorite knot behind the bowline. And the square knot, that's good as well. And the clove hitch. You know, those 4 will get you, will pretty well get you success wherever you go. I'd have to look into that. Just going off the top of my head, I would say a figure eight. A figure eight would probably be a better option, because I have fallen hard on those and have always been able to get them untied. Good question. Of my ilk. Shout out to you. We have a super chat. Thoughts on Northern California? Happy camp area. Well, Northern California is one of the most beautiful places in the country. It's a shame that it's been spoiled by the Californian and his politics. But I'll tell you, I mean, if all things being equal, if I were to live in a city, if I was to live in an urban area, let's take it back 100 years or so. I think my favorite climate, one of my favorite climates, is the San Francisco area. Now, San Francisco, do you know why San Francisco is so gay? Does anyone know? It's been gay for a long time. This is not a recent thing. It goes back to the days of the gold rush, where there were a disproportionately large number of men that were seeking their fortune in the gold fields, right? A lack of women. Well, if you read your history, you'll know that sodomy and sodomites, there's nothing new, and that this is something that takes place when there is a disproportionate number of men and women. What was it the sailors used to say? It's not gay if you're underway. So I mean, this is a joke, and it's revolting, but it is. There's nothing new under the sun. But that is a direct result of that's kind of the history of San Francisco. But if we take all that away, if we were to go back in time, I love that climate and that area. It's absolutely beautiful, and Yosemite and the Sierras, absolutely extraordinary. Absolutely, that place, and here, just on the eastern slope at the transitional forest of the Cascade Range, is some of the most beautiful, the best place to live in the world. No humidity, very few bugs, if any, no dangerous creatures, just very beautiful, wonderful, pristine area, filled with the Douglas fir, the tree of my people, for building and for heating, and it's just, it really is a utopia. It really is. But San Francisco, that climate really appeals to me. I was there not long ago for a YouTube meeting. And I can tell you, Mrs. W and I were both in agreement. That place has a dark spirit over it. You can feel the oppressive, that place is a den of demons. Mr. Cole Rhodes, shout out to you. Cole writes, hey Cody, I bought a Benchmade Osborne today. Congratulations, and shout out to you. That is the official knife, pocket knife. I was reaching for mine. I don't, now that I carry my fupa, I don't keep anything in my pockets. I like to wear my skinny jeans, and they're so skinny that I can't handle having things in my pocket. It weighs me down. And so now I'm carrying the fupa. I have it within reach. Well, not quite within reach, or I'd show you my 940. I should go get it. Now I'm feeling bad. But I do carry it in my fupa now. But that is the official knife of Proho, the gold standard for pocket knives. Absolutely. I am a fan. Shout out to you, Cole. Good choice. That's a big nut. $200 for a knife, but it's cool, man. You will never regret it. Never. I've never met anyone that regretted it. Take the pocket clip off and carry it like my granddad used to. My granddad, he never lost knives because he didn't have pocket clips on his knives. Not a fan of pocket clips. Not only that, but they destroy your jeans. Yeah, they destroy your pocket. They get all threadbare. We have a super chat, $20. Goodness, from NS. Shout out to you. Thank you for your generosity, brother. I need this. Thank you, Cody. Cutting contact off. Oh, yep, this is our friend here. No more tears and going to remain focused on my job goal of purchasing a home. Much love. Yeah, you know, you got a hard education, brother, right there. Just like all of us did. And I'll tell you, man, I did not have anyone to give me guidance when it happened to me. And I suffered for a long time over that, pined for a long time. But I'm telling you, if you reach out and you send letters or you send texts and you just cut her off 100%, it'll never happen. But even with that, like I said, I think once you get past the initial sting, time heals all wounds. Nothing like an anecdote to someone who's hurting. I know it's not very helpful, but it's true. Once you get some perspective in 7 to 10 days, and you're going to start looking at this logically, you have the ability to do that. You're a man. Look at it logically. You're going to determine this woman was not the unicorn. I elevated her too high. I put her on a pedestal, and by doing that, I blew it out. But God was merciful to you to get this Jezebel out of your life so that you didn't make a mistake and put a ring on her finger. Don't marry these Western women, beloved. They are a minefield. Get focused on your work. Get focused, get a purpose. Know where you're going. Trust God and move forward. And the woman will come, and she will be a compliment to you. A compliment to you. She's not your goal. Let's put away all this romance, lovey-dovey nonsense. Relationship is more of a partnership than that. There's no such thing as a soulmate. That's some nonsense made up by Hollywood that's gassed up women's heads, and they think that's, if they don't have the feels and the touchy-feelies all the time, that they're not in love. This is what happens when women are left to their own to make their own decisions. They wreck their lives, and they wreck the lives of men, and they wreck the lives with their children. Just like Solomon said, a woman tears down a house with her very own hands. But we don't listen to the fathers, do we? We don't take the advice of the fathers who wrote it down for us in the good book. No. It's shameful. I preach to myself. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. I'm not getting after you. But hang in there, NS. Join, stay here for the live stream. Plug into this community, and we're going to move forward together. We're going to clothe ourselves with the armor of God, and we're going to push the gospel further, one person at a time. Because the church has let us down, the clergy is weak and ineffective, and it's time for real men to stand up. They're going to come from areas that we may not expect. Chronic and ironic. Good to see you back, brother. Boomers ruined every single fabric of society. Yeah, that should be carved in stone. Maybe if you like to get tattoos, I don't agree with that. I don't like tattoos. I think not having tattoos is cool. But if you want to get tattoos, you should do it. I don't think it's that big of a deal for guys. I hate to see them on women. I would never, ever bring a woman into I would never marry a woman with tattoos. It just is not my thing. I do not like it. But you're true. Yeah, boomers ruined everything. They did. They really, they were handed everything from my grandfather's generation, and they squandered it. And they're still complaining of it, and they still won't go away. They still won't go away. Still, a boomer will spend $150,000 remodeling their kitchen that's 7 years, 8 years out of date, but they won't help their struggling children get established. a selfish generation. Squandered everything. We have a $50 super chat from Mr. Steve Tags 1. No comment, just support. Thank you, brother. Very, very generous of you. We sure do appreciate that. Man's got to work a long time to make a $50 super chat. A long time. Ryan Riggs, our newest member. Welcome, brother. And James Devoci, a newest member. Welcome, the two of you. David Hamill, shout out to you. David dropped a super chat. Hello, Mr. Star. How is our friend Grizzly? Spoke with him on the phone Monday. I don't want to give out his personal information. I did not get permission to do that. If he wants to talk about it, if he says, yeah, go ahead, I will tell the story. But man, he's going through a bad situation. I have been encouraging him to do the right thing. And in my opinion, he cut the cord and he did the right thing. He did the hard thing. He did the thing that took courage Monday. And he's dealing with the fallout and the repercussions right now. But I said, just keep going. He texted me this morning. He did his Wim Hof going into week 2. He had a breath hold of 4 minutes and 20 seconds. I don't know if he's trolling me, but I don't think so, because he sends me the actual times from the deal every day, and we correspond back and forth. And I said, just keep going, get in the cold shower. He had a new record, 420, and he's also, he's communicating with me daily, and we'll have another call next weekend. So I'm plugged in. I told him, I said, you know, we made kind of a plan. I said, keep it simple. These are 2 things I want you to focus on. Make these happen and just focus on that. Don't worry about all the other stuff. And I think he's going to be okay. But I'm staying in touch, and if he allows me to share the story, I will. But until then, I'm going to respect his privacy. But he showed a lot of courage and he showed a lot of grit, and he did something that was pretty difficult to do. And I was very proud of him for that. I told him so. But thank you, David. Thank you for inquiring. Mr. William Tweedy, shout out to you, brand new member, $10 super chat. William writes, thank you for these daily chats. Love the various subjects you speak on, but when you speak of the word, it really speaks to me. Thanks again. Keep going. Well, God's presence is here, beloved. We have the promise. You know, we take for granted the power and the authority that God has given us. We think, oh, you know, I'm a poor sinner, and oh, the devil's on my case all the time, and oh, my porn, and oh, my marijuana addiction, and oh, my drinking. God gives us so much power and authority if we would just claim it. He says, you have not because you ask not. When's the last time you got down and really asked for help? You're trying to do everything on your own when God tells you very clearly, I of myself can do nothing, but I can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens me. So you of yourself can't do anything. You can't. You've tried. You've tried to give it up. How many times? I've been there. I know. Tried to do it on my own steam. Fail, 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 fail. Those promises are real, man. Trust them. Go forward. When you read it, when God gives you a promise that he knows what you have need of before you even ask, trust in it. He's not like man that he should lie. Men will betray us. Women will betray us. Even family members will betray us. But God will not betray us. He's not there, or you think he's not there, because you haven't been a friend. He has feelings too. He made us in his own image, gentlemen. In the image of God, he made us. That means that our emotions, our love, our fear, our friendships, our trust, our mistrust, all of those things came from him. We are his children. We are heir to his promise. We've been made very unique in his creation, in his universe. Not everyone has been given. He's given us the ability to create life, to make little people in our own image. Who else can do that? The angels can't do that. Who knows if any of the created beings that they're in the onlooking universe, if they have that ability. We also know that when Jesus returns, he sets up his capital right here on the flat earth. and we reign forever and ever with him, heirs to the promise. The firstborn, this is quite a thing. And we grovel around down here thinking we don't have any power, feeling sorry for ourselves. Oh, poor me. We don't read, we don't pray, we don't claim the promises of the firstborn. We don't claim our birthright. We have incredible power, beloved, if we would just claim it. Stop being such a wuss. Stop apologizing for your faith and for your beliefs. Go forward with the courage of a lion, of a David, of a Samson, of a Gideon. Mr. Noah Henderson, shout out to you. Thank you for the super chat. Very generous of you. Noah says, you are a blessing to many, Cody. Thank you. I agree with your thoughts of modern women. Well, that's because they're true. But is it not a result of generation of weak and non-present fathers and husbands not filling their biblical roles? Yeah, I'm not saying they're the only ones to blame. Of course not. Many of us are to blame. But they're more to blame. They're more to blame. You know, these men that you're talking about, that you want to put the blame on, and there is plenty of blame to go around, don't get me wrong. But how many of them, let's ask ourselves this question, how many of them came from single mother homes? Over 50% of young boys that are being born now are born into single mother homes. What do you think, what does that mean for our future? It's very grim and dark. It's going to be very dangerous as well. You know what happened when you look into why Germany rebelled in the First and Second World Wars? It's a people being pushed too far. A people that are become desperate and looking for a strong man, looking for a leader. I fear that something like that could happen again. I pray it won't. But if you read history, you know what the result is. You know what happened at the fall of Rome. There's so many parallels with Rome and us right now. But you're right. Yeah, you're not wrong, Noah. You're not wrong. But all we can do is just, we can influence our own personal circles and our own personal family, and we can maintain the biblical traditions and go forward with the courage of lions, knowing that we are on the side of God and that we have the gift of the Holy Spirit to help us. We're not alone in this world. The devil, the adversary, would make you think that you're alone and things are useless, that you are of no value, when I just told you that you are very precious, the most precious things. God tells us that I love you so much, I know you so intimately, that I even know the number of hairs on your head. Go talk to him. What type of a friendship? Do you have a best friend? Do you have a good friend? What type of a friendship would you have if you cut off communication? If you never called him, if you never inquired, if you never reciprocated friendship? Would that friendship grow or would it die? Your connection with your father is died because you have not maintained it. He's always been there. He's not abandoned you. You've abandoned him. And it's so easy to return. You know, the journey back home returns with just one step. You don't have to clean yourself up. You don't have to come back to him imperfect. You just need to do a 180 and take one step back in the right direction. You know, the story of the prodigal is my favorite story in the Bible. When the prodigal son was gone and left, his father went out every day and looked for him. Looked down the road, is he coming? Day after day after day. Never once did he not go up there and in the evening, in the morning, look to see, is my son returning? Do you know what the prodigal, you know what the father, that represents God, and the prodigal is us. The beautiful story ends that the good book tells us, when he saw his son a far way off, just could barely recognize maybe his gait or his silhouette, a far way off. What happened? He ran to him. He closed the distance. He was an old man. He was an important man. He was a wealthy man. He didn't stand up there and wait for his son to come crawling and groveling. to lord over him. You squandered everything. You've dragged my name into the mud. I'm so ashamed of you. You've brought shame and rebuke upon my family. Is that what he did? He ran to him. He closed the distance, and he fell upon his neck. And he said, my son, what was lost has been found. It's the most beautiful story in the Bible for me. It tells you the character of God. He'll close the distance, beloved. You just have to do a 180. You just have to repent for what you've done. You have to go to him on your knees and you have to ask for forgiveness, and he'll be there for you. And he will carry you. He'll carry you back to his home and patch you up and get you some food and put some clothes on your back. Get you going again. Put you back on the straight and narrow. It breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart to see people using God's name in vain, rejecting him, when all he's ever wanted was for us to be happy, or not to happy. All he ever wanted us to do was to be connected with him so that he could teach us and give us a more abundant life and eternal life. Happiness is not the most important thing. Happiness oftentimes results in great sadness. I would say a better way to put it would be peace of mind and contentment and peace. Mr. James Barden, we have a super chat. Thank you for your generosity. James writes, you and Mr. John Lovell have brought me back to where I need to be spiritually. I like John Lovell, the warrior poet. He has a fine YouTube channel. He seems like well, I don't know him. I've heard good things and I have heard bad things. It just came to mind. I heard someone that I trust had a bad experience with him. But I wasn't there, so I don't know. But if he's helped you, yeah, that's funny. It just popped into my mind. I was thinking, I used to watch him. I was surprised to hear that. And most people, if they would have told me, I would have dismissed it. But it was someone that I absolutely trust, and it was, yeah, I don't know. I will give him the benefit of the doubt. If I ever have the chance to meet him, I'll make my own judgment. I probably should have just kept that to myself. Mr. Vat, but thank you, brother. He goes on to say, thank you for standing on your faith. It's bringing Prohos back to the Lord. Well, I appreciate that. And I think it's a sign of respect. I think if you're going to be writing God's name or the Lord's name or referring to God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, you should always capitalize it. I think that's a sign. It should be a sign of respect. Mr. Vash Stampede. Shout out to you, Vash. Vash writes, what do you recommend for bushcraft knife? I have a Mora and the best bushcraft book. I'm trying to learn how to survive on my own in the woods. A Mora is a great knife. Funny you should say it. One of my subscribers today noticed a knife in the background of one of today's videos, and he would ask me if I would do a review on it, and I will. I'll just give you, this is a beautiful knife. This was handmade by one of my subscribers for me by a 19-year-old boy. I love this knife. This is my here. I forget his name. Is it Jake? Kimsey. Kimsey Knives. K-I-M-S-E-Y USA built this for me. Look at the workmanship. That's all done by hand. That's all forged, gentlemen. Look at the polish on it. It's absolutely perfect. Micarta handle. Look at the thickness of the spine. Now that right there is an example of a fine knife. If you only had one, it should be something like this. Full tang, drop point, heavy, strong. Micarta handles. I love micarta handles. Isn't that beautiful? It's a little heavy in the front, but it's pretty nicely balanced actually. Yeah, look at that. It's almost, yeah, it's surprising. It's got all that weight. It's got a taper in the spine, so it carries more weight in there. It is really well balanced. Isn't that beautiful? And the sheath is super sweet. I'll do a review on this for you guys. It's a horizontal carry sheath, so you could carry this on your belt loop. on the back, small of the back, or up front, right, kind of to the right of the, on the right side or left side, depending on how you are. But isn't that nice? That's a beauty right there. Something like that, you know, whatever. There's so many good knives out there. I can't really speak to any particular brands, especially in the bushcrafting. I've got a John Deering, which makes beautiful knives. It's a scary knife because it doesn't have a finger choil, but it is beautifully made. He custom made that for me. I really, to be honest, my favorite's my Spyderco Bushcraft. I don't think they make that anymore. Benchmade makes a nice bushcraft knife, I believe. But what you're looking for is something that fits your hand. A bushcraft knife should be a working knife. So never a folder. Folders are never comfortable in the hand. Folders are convenient. But a bushcraft knife should be something that gives you no hot spots, that's very smooth and comfortable, that you can do work with. You know, a nice 4-inch blade like this, a drop point's perfect. This is not Scandi grind. A Scandi grind is typically done on a bushcrafting knife, and that's nice because it's easy to sharpen. A Mora, like you said, those are going to have the Scandi grind, but there's nothing wrong with a Mora. You can buy them for 20 bucks, and they're wonderful knives. But if you just want something that gives you the fizz, you know, just stick with the traditional style and whatever you choose. If you can find one of those old Spydercos on eBay or the secondhand market, they're very nice knives. There was a tremendous effort put in building that knife, especially with the handle design, and it shows when you work with. That's a knife I've had in my hand for all day, and it was always comfortable. I absolutely adore it. It's not the only one. It's just one that I really like. Thank you, Vash. I appreciate that. NS. Welcome to the family, our newest member. In Gaelic lands, we have a super chat, overdue for a tithe. Well, thank you, brother. I thank you. I do appreciate that. Where and how you spend your tithe, of course, is your business. Mrs. W and I, for over 20 years, give 10% of everything that we make to support the church. And that doesn't include offerings or alms, the giving of alms on top of that. So I challenge you. You want to see how good God is? He wants to see a little faith from time to time. Even if money is tight. And I'm not soliciting money, not at all. What you do with your tithe is your business. If it's on your heart to support us, then you do that. If not, you find someone suitable, someone in your neighborhood or a good ministry, whatever. But it's important to honor God. He doesn't need your money. He just wants to know, do you trust him? And you may think, man, times are tough. I don't even know how we're even going to make the mortgage payment, and we're eating beans and rice. Now you're asking me to go into that tithe. How many, to tithe 10% of that to God? How many times in the Bible did God show how he would do his work with the least of men? The story of Gideon. He whittled that army of thousands down to 300 so that he always makes the point that it's him that does the work, and you need to trust him. Gideon had to trust God. He struggled with it. He asked for proof. The dry fleece and the wet fleece and the dry. You know, you laugh about it and you think, goodness, you've got some balls, man. I mean, when God tells you to do something and you're asking him to jump through hoops and to do silly magic tricks for you, I mean, it staggers the mind, right? But it also says a lot about the character of God. He met Gideon where he was at. Gideon was struggling with his faith. Gideon was up against an army that was much greater than him. So let us not cast stones at Gideon of him not being faithful. Have you ever went up against the potential of fighting an army 10 times your size, 100 times your size with hand-to-hand combat? Tell me how much courage you would have. You know, you just don't know until you're there. But the point being is that God loves that because it gives him the opportunity to show you that he's ultimately in charge. Cast your bread upon many waters, the good book tells us, and it will return to you manyfold over. And that's been my experience. When you give, especially when you give out of your necessity, There's often great blessings that come from this. And I'm not preaching prosperity doctrine here. That is a doctrine of devils. Your, what's that horrible dude, that Joel Osteen. Yeah, you do this and you get to fly first class, and you do this and you get a new Benz, and that is, God will judge those men very harshly, in my opinion. Professing to be a man of God and yet profiting off of the flock. God takes a dim view on that. Mr. Derek Perrin, new member. Shout out to you. Welcome, brother. And Overton's in the house. Overton, a whole lot of Washington is a whole lot like South Dakota. Just saying. Mr. Overton is on his way to the homestead as we speak. We will be meeting for the first time, and I'm greatly excited. He's in South Dakota right now. Shout out to you, and be safe out there, Mr. Overton. Watch out for the buffalo. Yep. Washington is a big state. Riley, Regenerative Landscapes. Shout out to you. We have a super chat writes, are we going to see the SOE Proho collaboration? Well, I love those guys over there. You know, SOE gear gives me the fizz. I have four pieces from them. Each one of them is very special to me. I have Mr. Overton sent me the FUPA, which I shared with you. I just got a like a Rhodesian style tactical rig, which I will also be sharing with you. It's still, I put it in my toolbox. I haven't even put it on yet. I need to put some time in it, but I've been thinking about it lately. I have a case from SOE for my, like a Peltor case that I keep my antenna that Evan made for me for my car mounted antenna. And I have a couple of, I had a radio holder, the kit that came with the Proho 3 radio kit. I had two others that I gave to the warband. But everything is, yeah. So I jumped on his live stream yesterday, and I asked him if it would be possible for him to offer a limited run of a Selvage Denim FUPA. Now I could get behind that. How cool would that be? That would be, I could literally break all the rules. You know, we've been told that you never do double denim, but I don't agree with that. I double down, I do triple denim. I'll do pants, shirt, and apron. Sometimes a jacket, quadruple denim. We could actually go, if I put my granddad's denim hat on, I'd have, I don't know what's beyond quad, 5 denim, 5X denim. And if I had a denim FUPA and I get some denim shoes, I mean, I might even be able to go octo denim. Can you even imagine? That would take me to legendary status with the Proho, I'm sure. Yes. John does, you know, he does what he does. I support him. I love his gear. If he wants to do something special for me, I would be very grateful, but it's not, he's a busy man. I've got no expectations. I'm grateful with what's been given me, to be honest with you. And if I got nothing else, I'd be happy. I don't do videos in hopes that he's going to send me stuff. The warband, or not the middleman and Overton and John has sent me some things, and I'm grateful for it. I just like to support his company because I think they make some of the finest, if not the finest stuff I've seen when it comes to American-made tactical gear. Awesome. Go look on their site. Everything's sold out, man. There's waiting lists for everything. That tells you a lot, right? What he's accomplished and what John has built in the town, and I was listening a little bit of the story of how they got started and what they had to overcome is amazing. And now he's got Joe Salatin coming and talking to the folks for his preparedness expo. I hope to get out to that someday. Maybe he can extend me an invitation. I'd love to go out there. I just don't know when it is, or when I don't know. So shout out to John. I've been eyeballing his micro rigs and bungee slings. Act accordingly. Yeah, I've got one of the micro rigs in my hands. I'll try to get that down here, and I'll wear it in the river. I'll twist some tails. People hate it when I do that. Trolling's my weakness. It is one of the pleasures of life. Sinkable Might, shout out to you. Sinkable Might 111. We have a $20 super chat. He's been with us for 2 months as well. Shout out to you, brother. He is curious on what you think about getting a job with the UPS. I currently work for my uncle in lawn care, where I get no benefits like I would wear-ups, and he likes to make me work really hard and complain about my work. Yeah, you don't need to be abused. Life in work is hard enough just doing the work, and when you have an overbearing boss or family member, it becomes unacceptable. I have never worked at UPS, but I have had, I've shipped, when I have my Jeep parts business and stuff, I ship stuff that we receive a lot of packages. So we're always on first name basis with our UPS guys. Every UPS driver I've ever had that I can remember has been some of the best people. My first one, when I was over outside of Portland, when we were shipping a ton of stuff, when I built my new shop, we had a loading dock. We'd ship out a lot of packages every day. And so he would come and he would visit with us all the time. And we became quite good friends, actually. And just some of the best dudes I've ever met drive for UPS. Now, that's a pretty good gig, I think. You know, depending on the route, some are better than others. And you're not going to start with that. You're going to start in the warehouse. I have heard mixed reviews from folks that work in the warehouse. It's tough work, throwing boxes, getting started. But just like anything, you know, no one owes you anything. And if your goal is ultimately to get your own route and become a driver and you're going to make that a go, I think it's a pretty good gig. And just from the quality of people that I've met that work for UPS, I would say that that would be a good place to work, 100%. Also, I know, we'll stick with that. So that's what I know. Haven't worked there. It's going to be hard in the warehouse, especially now with, you know, the Christmas coming up and the holidays and such. But if your goal is to become a driver, I think that'd be a pretty good gig. But it's hard work. It's hard work. Mr. Lumberjack, we have a $20 super chat. Shout out to you. Thank you, brother. The Lumberjack writes, I also have an Ironheart. I have many Ironheart pieces, a man after my own heart. Have you tried the Weather Wool? Great garment as well. You know, I've never even heard of this. At gmail.com. I will be happy to take a look at it. This, when we were out of town, where did we go? Oh, Jack's debate. Jack went to his national debate tournament. The Sweet Loaf and I had some time to kill in a rental car, and I got online, and I like to, you know, I don't know what, it's something about spending money when you go out of town. Like, it gives you a license. Like, oh, we're on vacation, so I can go buy myself something expensive. I got online, and I found out we went out to breakfast, the Loaf and I. I always go to where all of the, what would you call them, the leftist coffee shop, liberal hippie crowd, because I'm a West Coast guy. I'm from Portland, and I like that environment, and that's where the good food is. All you conservatives, you don't have very good food, and your coffee is trash. So I'm a day walker. I can go both ways. I don't agree with their politics, but I do love their coffee, and their food is always real nice. So we go over to that part of town where all the hipsters hang out, because those are my people. And I was on my phone, and I was looking like, oh, I wonder if there's a self-edged denim place. I wonder if there's anyone that carries Ironheart around here. I couldn't believe it, man. 2 blocks down, there was the most amazing Japanese denim store. I couldn't believe it, and one of the oldest in the area. I went in there. The dudes were awesome, man. We had the best time. I got to look at all the stuff, and they really knew the product line. I actually bought this shirt right here. This is my favorite. This is my Ironheart. This must be it's pretty heavy, maybe 12 ounce, 12, 18. I don't know for sure. 18 ounce self-edged denim. Nice detail right there. Over dyed. Love the over dye. That's where the fabric is rope dyed with pure indigo, you know. But then they do, once the garment's made, then they dye it one more time. It gives it that really rich, deep color that I like. They even warn you. I'll show you here. Not to get too explicit, don't wash it. Look at this. I love this one. Don't wash it. Can you read that? It says, they say tumble dry. I wash mine by hand. Wear as long as possible without washing. And I do. I'll wear this one. This one's pretty stinky. I keep it down here at the campsite. Mrs. W complains if I wear that up to the house. But I'm going to put the work into this one. But this is my favorite. Fits like a glove. Absolutely amazing. Snaps. I love the snaps because I'm always putting microphones on. So undoing the buttons is tedious for me. So shout out to Ironheart, the best clothing manufacturer in the world. You're obviously a man of taste and style. West Coast. I'm sure you're West Coast. Thanks for the recommendation. Thank you, Lumberjack. Love Ironheart. You know, Ironheart is very much like special operation equipment in that it has a really strong following. You are most of the time, cool stuff that they make, everything's handmade. As good as it could possibly be, the highest quality. A lot of the things that I've been waiting on for a long time with my name on the email list, and when they drop the product, you got to jump on it, man, because it's gone immediately, especially in my size. And there's this waiting list, and they just, it takes time. When everything's made by hand, the old way, it just takes time, and they just do small drops, very similar to like SOE does. We have a super chat from Jet to Anywhere. Shout out to you, brother. Thank you. Do you like spiders? Not particularly, but I'm not afraid of them like some people. When I was shipping parts for my Wrangler barn company, I had a spider that built a web on the window right next to my computer, and I just let it go. And I watched it for years, and it grew bigger, or not years, maybe a year. I watched it for a long time, and it grew bigger and bigger and bigger, and then finally just went away. I guess they don't have a very long lifespan, but I don't mind them. But any people that have reptiles or snakes or spiders, I don't like those type of people. There's always something very odd about them. I've known some girls, women specifically. I don't know, man. If you're into that, shout out to you. But for me, the thought of having a tarantula crawling around on me or anything like that, it gives me the heebies. I'm not afraid of them, but no, I don't particularly care for them. But I don't seek them out to destroy them either. He goes on to say, if so, do you have any favorite ones? I really like them, and being an outdoorsman, I bet you've seen some cool ones. Yeah, you know what? We have a lot of them down here. I'm not going to say I don't like them. I don't want to keep one in my house. But if I see a daddy long legs or a little spider, we don't have venomous spiders here. I leave them alone. I think that there's a quote from the. I may get this wrong, but I believe there's a quote in the Proverbs, in the Old Testament about spiders, something to the effect of the spider is smart. I'm going to paraphrase. The spider is wise because he lives in the king's palace rent-free. Something to that effect. So I don't know, man. I don't dislike them, but I don't kill them either. If I get one, I'll usually put it outside so it can survive. That maybe I do like spiders. I just don't want them as pets. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that generosity. Mr. Task Force Yeet, shout out to you. We have our newest member, and Dr. Prepper is in the house. Shout out to you. He says, coming up on one of our beautiful West Coast volcanoes, despite sketchy cell service, is a stream mix for a nice drive. I'll be sleeping in a canvas tent tonight under the stars. Shout out to you, brother, and Godspeed to your journey. Looking forward to that. Be safe out there. Be safe. Keep your powder dry and your gun under your pillow. What an adventure. Mr. Judy. Mr. Did I just misgender? I'm sorry, Judy. I'm backing up here. Judy Stoyer, 88. We have a super chat for $9.99. Very generous of you. Thank you, beloved. I really do appreciate that. Our females are certainly welcome here, long as they stay silent and let the men talk. We're grateful to have you, though. Mr. BW Nodak, a $20 super chat. Goodness, shout out to you. BW says, hi, Cody. Long-time listener, first-time caller here. Oh man, that's crazy, isn't it? I remember I grew up on talk radio, and that was always the thing. First, I even called into radio shows and said that before. That's pretty funny. That reminds me of the old days. Long time listener, first time caller here. Just wanted to say thank you for the excellent content. Your words about faith, along with some other recent events, have encouraged me to return to the church. Much thanks. Well, I appreciate that. It is a high compliment, and I am very, very happy to hear that. Very happy to hear that. These things are more important to me than the numbers of subscribers. Don't forget to encourage me as well. If you've been affected positively from the live streams, let me know. Let me know. Drop me a line. I share those with Mrs. W. I want you to know that she works very hard behind the scenes and gets none of the glory. And without her, and also the same with the middlemen, and Overton in particular, he does a lot of hard work. Not just him, but those who know. Even members in the Big Fizz group, and there are members that I don't even know, are working, giving time and effort to this behind the scenes, and it wouldn't be possible without them. But let me know. I appreciate that. It gives me encouragement. It reminds me that I'm not a lone voice out howling in the wilderness, as so many people like to remind me. But thank you, BW. Jarek Cundiff, our newest member. Shout out to you. Welcome. Supporting. And Lucas. Good to see Lucas back. Lucas says, do you believe in the rapture? No. No, I do not. I do not. It's, if we ever do a Bible study, this would be one of the topics that we would go into detail of. But there are two resurrections, certainly. And we're also, I do not think so. A lot of that philosophy has been gleaned, and one of the biggest disservices to Christendom has been the Left Behind series, the fictional series of books that promoted this idea. It is not biblical in my opinion. Now, if I come to a different realization, understanding through God's Holy Spirit, then I'll do a 180 on that. But the way I see and understand Scripture, it's very clear. I can't get into it right now, but maybe one of these days we will. And NS, new member, recommend on raw denim brands. My two favorites, my favorite is Ironheart. I like the Ironheart 21 ounce denim. Very, very nice. The 21 ounce denim I have. So the pants that you see me wearing most of the time with the double fronts are the work pant. And I have two versions of those. I have a summertime version and I have a wintertime version. The 21 ounce is heavy, very heavy denim. They make 25, which I don't own, but the 25 is so thick. Denim makers thought for a long time it wasn't possible to do 25 ounce denim. And what happened when Ironheart first started doing this, the folks that were sewing them, the needles were exploding on the machines and throwing out shrapnel. That's how serious that denim is. They have to wear safety protective equipment to sew them. And they don't run very many runs of them. They come up once in a while, but it's a bit heavy for most people. The 21 is really nice. 18 to 21 is considered the heavy, and that's the sweet spot right there. But I like the work pants. Man, I love heavy, thick clothing. I always have. It feels like you're getting a hug all day. And I also feel very protected in it. If you're a working guy, denim is protection. It is a tool. The clothing, if you're, it protects you from abrasion, lots of different things. What I like about the double fronts is now you've got 42. You got 42 ounces, literally, of denim on your thighs, and that's really where you need it the most. And then you have the cooling on the back. You have the regular 21. Now for the summertime pants I have, but I wear them both all the time. I don't mind it. I have long limbs. I'm tall, and I cool well. I have a lot of surface area, and I have low body fat. So I'm usually cold anyway. But the 14 is nice as well. That gives you a combination of 28 total on the front. But they're pretty serious pants. But that's my favorite brand. Also, my second favorite brand is Sugarcane. Sugarcane fits really well also. Mr. Dylan Gascon, a $20 super chat. Thank you for supporting. Thank you. Really do appreciate that, brother. And we have a live chat from Loosh Bob, who writes, watch the homeless video now. tent, oh, watching the homeless video now, tent looks awesome. Yeah, that tent, that's a nice little tent. You know, the last one that we had that the winter took, and the snow blower, that was my own fault, was a bit big and a little bit daunting to move around, to set up and take down. I like this size better. The 14 by 16 is an excellent size, very wide, and I like that it doesn't have the double doors. I prefer a single door on the back, just like I said in the video, but I appreciate that. Tomorrow, don't forget, tomorrow I'll be installing the wood stove, so it's going to be cool. So we'll cut out the stove jack, and we'll get that all set up. We'll cut some kindling, get the fire going, all that stuff. The warband and I, we've noticed, we talked about it this morning as we went into the frigid water, 7:30. We noticed that there's the slightest perception of a change of seasons, where you can, I don't know, when you're in the mountains, we have a very short summer up here. We're at high elevation, up on the eastern slope of the Cascade Range, up in the volcano land. It gets cold up here. We're still close to freezing it every night. You know, we're not close, but we've been down to 43, 42, 44 is real common at night. Like, so when we're getting in the water at 7 a.m., it's cold, man. We are fighting demons down here, I'll tell you. We're going to be very happy to have a warm respite, and that will be the tent with the wood stove going, to go in there to get warmed up a little bit. Because when you spend 10 minutes in that water at 44 degrees, you get what my granddad used to call a cold shoulder. He always told me when we were elk hunting, make sure you wear good wool, wear proper clothing when you're elk hunting, because we would hunt over in Hell's Canyon, which is deeper than the Grand Canyon. People don't realize that, and very difficult, austere environments. It would have been the end of October. It was always hunting season, elk hunting season, and that's when the weather at high elevation and 10 below was not a problem, living in canvas tents, and he was always concerned, me as a boy, that I wouldn't get cold. He said, you got to be careful, don't get a cold shoulder. I never really knew what that meant. I just listened to him, like, okay, well, my shoulder's not cold, so I must be okay. Well, I know what it is now. You get in this river for 10 minutes when it's 44 degrees outside, and you come out and you wrap up in a blanket outside, and then you spend another 45 minutes out in the exposed air, you know, doing your Wim Hof and all that, you get a cold shoulder for sure, I tell you. Thank you, Lush. And Mr. Daniel Carlson, shout out to you. Daniel's dropped us a $10 super chat. We sure do appreciate that. Love from Sweden. I was just going to say, Carlson, whenever you hear a S-O-N at the end of a name, that is a northern lad right there. Typically, it's very common. It would be Carl's son, Carlson. So that's usually a dead giveaway that that's someone of Nordic descent. You know, we have had a greater, I'll tell you, the warband and I, we love the Nordic people and the lifestyle. We always consider ourselves to be northern lads. We're not as north as maybe some of the folks in Sweden, but for the U.S., we're the most north. But we draw inspiration from your toughness and your tenacity of living in that austere environment. 10 years ago, I saved my family farm from the bank. The borrower is slave to the lender, the good book tells us. I'm 34 years old, 8th generation, and proud. Man, you did a great thing. You did a great thing by doing that. However, my debt is working as a sailor to pay my loans. Did I do the right thing? I think you did. Man, to save your family heritage, that's something that almost no Americans, very few, can speak to. We don't have lands, we don't have heritage, we don't know where we came from. The boomers sold us down the road. Guys my age, Gen X, Zoomers, Millennials, are starting from scratch, man. No knowledge base, no land, no inheritance, and now we have a world that's almost impossible to get ahead. We really are behind the 8 ball. Whatever you have to do, you knew instinctively what you need to do. Whatever you have to do to save that. 8 generations of your family has walked and worked on that land. Can you imagine the great loss that would be? You would never be able to get it back. But you stop the bleeding and you just do what you have to do. Just think of the renown that you will have with your grandchildren, if the Lord tarries, your children and grandchildren, as the one that kept it alive, that kept it going. Do what you have to do. You're a man, you have broad shoulders. Your ancestors were men of great courage, and you have that in your bloodline, and you can do it. You do what you have to do to save that land. I'm proud of you. Good job, Daniel. You have an amazing thing there. Zachariah Abel, shout out to you, Zachariah. Do you fear death? No. No. There are times in the past where I would have said yes when I was far away from God, but I don't. I don't. What I do fear is not being able to be here to provide for my little ones and my wife, my children. That makes me worry a little bit. To leave them. Mr. Blues F-150 writes, down here in Texas, we have a bunch of banana spiders. I don't even know what that is. We usually throw grasshoppers in the webs and watch them wrap them up. Super cool. Boy, those spiders are fast, aren't they? I've done that before. You throw a fly or an insect into the web. They don't waste any time taking advantage of that free meal. That's a windfall for them. They have to sit around and have a long time, wait patiently to have something land in their web. Mr. Ryan Warren, we have a super chat. Thank you, brother. Does my Catholic infant baptism count? Good question. I no longer consider myself Catholic. Where does a non-denominational Christian get baptized? It does not count. Baptism needs to be, our Lord showed us how baptism needs to be. When he went into the river and John the Baptizer baptized him and the Holy Spirit descended upon him like a dove, that was an example to us as to how we start off or initiate our walk with God. It is a form of rebirth, the death of the old man of sin and a rebirth, a new man in Christ. It's symbolic to that. So full immersion needs to happen. Also, infant baptism, they don't have any say in it. You need to be of the age of consent. If you're asking this question and typing and know how to read, you're obviously of the age of consent. If you can get it plugged in to find a good Sabbath-keeping church in your area and inquire and ask them, what is the avenue? What do I have to do? A lot of these churches are going to make you jump through hoops, and you have to make professions of faith, etc., etc. They overcomplicate it. The Bible told us there was the story of the Ethiopian eunuch when he said, "Well, what prevents me?" When he heard the true word of God for the first time, and he was made aware of it, he immediately responded and said, "Well, what prevents me from being baptized? Is there not water right here? This river, can we not do it right now?" And what did the disciple say? Well, do you believe on the Lord Jesus Christ with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might? That was the criteria. The church would tell us that you need to be a minister of the church or a clergy member or a man of the cloth to baptize. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't consider myself qualified to do it. I'd have to look into that. I don't know for sure. But if you could get plugged into a Sabbath-keeping church, if you could find one, and then inquire and see about it. Good question, though. Good question. I would consider, if I were you, Ryan, I would consider myself to not be baptized. I would not rely upon that whatsoever. Mr. Nicholas Saliga, shout out to you, brother. Thank you for your generosity. We have a super chat. And Noah Henderson is back in the house. Noah writes, good to hear your thoughts on the rapture. Yeah, we're going to have to work out a method. We're going to have to do a Bible study. I'm reluctant to do that because I know the work that's going to be involved for me to do it. I'm just being lazy. I'll have to carve out and find some time because it just takes time to prepare for that stuff. And I'm also, to be honest with you, you know, when you step into that role, I want to make sure that I'm not doing it on my own account, that it is a calling. I think if a person is going to be preaching, teaching God's children, I don't think you decide. I think it's wrong to just decide on your own. Well, I'm going to be a pastor. I think you need to have a calling. So I don't know what a calling looks like. I don't know exactly what that means, but I don't want to move. I don't want to be presumptuous and move into this role without having a very clear message from God. Now, I'm hoping I'm not saying that as sheer laziness. I am lazy sometimes when it comes to that. I know there'll be a lot of effort, and also, you know, when you step into that role, you're going to be held to a much higher standard. You know, and who wants that? It's already hard enough to get through life and not offend God any more than we already do, right? It's not a light thing to do. But I'm glad to hear you're definitely a member of the tribe. Thank you, Noah. Thank you for supporting us. And our final super chat of the day is coming from Derek Kimsey. Shout out to you, Derek. Welcome. Derek's been with us for a year, supporting us. He says, how's Cody? Hey, Cody, how's the family? Thank you for the videos. The family is well. Mrs. W is, what did she do? She went, she helped me with the live stream. It was really nice. I'll close with this. We have an Amazon channel. We do live stream over there probably once every few months, probably maybe doing once a month or so. And we had a good time doing that yesterday. Shared some of my favorite forestry gear and some stuff that I've been using a lot that I enjoy. And she joined us. And it was a really enjoyable live stream. She's a great counselor to me, and she's a very intelligent, very insightful woman. I trust her counsel absolutely. After that live stream, it's pretty tiresome to do a live stream. I said, oh, let's go down, I'll take you out to dinner. Both of us were kind of tired, it was hot in that tent. We were talking on the way, and I said, I could see us doing something together. A live stream, maybe not full time. I don't think she has time for all of that, but maybe on Fridays or once a week I could see sitting down together, her and I, and doing what we're doing here, but getting her perspective. And this would be a really good opportunity for those of you who have your own trad cons or want to get a woman's perspective that is a true trad con and not a grifter, that might be beneficial. And I think it would be quite interesting. And I would enjoy that. So she said she would definitely consider doing it. Maybe when we get the new house built and the studio up, we can have a dedicated area where we could sit down and do that. So it's something we're considering and kicking around, but I think it would be very enjoyable. She has a very good perspective on life. And she's just a very sweet woman, a very good person, very genuine. As honest as the day is long. Very honorable. Yeah, it's not often that we get a woman, that men get a woman that is better than what they deserve. Well, let's just stay with that, right? But I'm not going to complain about it. All right, beloved, if that's it, I'm going to shut it down. I do appreciate all your support. Thank you for all the super chats and some great questions today. Just a very good feeling, a good spirit in the comment section, and I enjoy that. I'm staying in touch with Grizzly Bear. We'll stay in touch with him, who knows, maybe forever, long as it takes, but just pray for him. He's going through a hard time. A lot of us are. Our friend NS was in the chat today. He got the text from hell, right? He's dealing with all that as well, and that's going to be tough for him. And I'm sure he could use our prayers as well. And he reached out, and guys, when guys reach out, it's usually because they need help, because most of us don't. So don't if you have a friend or an acquaintance that reaches out for help and is not trying to take advantage, and sometimes it's hard to know the difference, but don't turn your back on them, because that's a hard thing for a man to do. And usually they don't do it unless they really are struggling. So be sympathetic, man. There go I, if not for the grace of God, is one of the best Bible verses that we could memorize, because it keeps us humble. That things may be going well for us, not having any problems, but there go I, meaning I'm able to go through life relatively unscathed, only because God is merciful and His grace extends to me. All right, well, if that's it, I will bid you my farewell until tomorrow, Lord willing. May God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers as well, and we'll see you guys on tomorrow's stream.